Hey everybody, this is Victor. I am here with Munya, and we're going to be talking about his real estate flipping experience, how Munya went from being a real estate beginner and wanting to do flips for about 8 years to making 10 offers. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, Victor? Thank you so much for having me.
I'm glad you're able to join. You have a lot, you've gone through a lot, you've progressed a lot, and I just wanted to share your story and share your progress so far with everybody. So let's just jump right into it. Where are you based out of, and then where are you looking for your flips?
Currently, I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I actually moved at the beginning of the year from Dallas, Texas. So because I'm based here, I'm looking to primarily do a lot of my fix and flips here. Once I become more established, I would like to try fix and flip in Dallas too, because I've lived there for so long. I understand the market, the neighborhoods, the trends. But for now, I want to focus primarily Atlanta, Georgia.
Mm-hmm. And so what's your background? Because you have an interesting background I hadn't heard of before I met you.
Well, basically, I worked for a multi-level marketing company in Dallas, Texas. I was there for about 6 years. It was a really good job. Kind of climbed up the ladder pretty quick, and everything seems to be going okay. And then around 2017, they started having all these layoffs. It was a company that had over 400 employees. By the end of 2018, we were less than 100. And unfortunately, at the end of 2018, I became a casualty of those layoffs. So at that time, I had been looking into pursuing something else on a side hustle kind of thing for myself. And I had kind of laid the groundwork for that. So I simply transitioned from that position into working for myself. And that's what I spent most of 2019 doing, working for myself. It was in a different industry, unrelated to real estate investing. But real estate investing has always been something I've been wanting to do. Mm-hmm. It's just that it's been difficult going back 8, 10 years to get the information. I think if you look back then, it's like YouTube was not as readily used for information purposes. It was more for entertainment. And Facebook was all about talking to friends and posting pictures. Once again, not so much networking, at least for me. So I felt like you could only get the information for real estate investing if you went to these seminars, the free seminars, right, where they tell you, 25,000, 30,000 to join a program. And that for me was just not, I couldn't do that. Not that kind of money at the time. So I had to put my real estate dream on the back end and just kind of let life take me in the other direction. But once I moved here to Atlanta and COVID hit and everything kind of shut down, it gave me the opportunity to revisit real estate investing. And fast forward 8 years, now you can find the information so easily, it's so readily available and for free. So I decided to jump into it, and that's how you and I met, and so begins my real estate investing journey.
Well, there we go. Yeah. To think about it for 8 years and finally get into it, that's fantastic, and you're making good progress. So what were some of the struggles, or what were some of the questions with regards to real estate and real estate flipping that you started out with, or you had before you met me?
Well, the biggest thing is if you listen to all these gurus and people who have seminars, they tell you that, oh, you can do this easily. Here's my house. Here's my car. Here's my life. You can have it too with no money down. So, you kind of buy into it for a second, and then they tell you, oh, you got to pay $30,000 to join this program. You got to pay $25,000. And then the more you do your research, the more you realize, no, not exactly. You got to have some kind of money to get into this business. And at least that's what I thought. So for me, just not having that kind of cash available was a big stumbling block. So I just couldn't start real estate investing without that kind of money. And I guess when you're living kind of paycheck to paycheck, it's difficult to, save for that without any emergencies or anything happening. So that was one of the biggest things, and lack of information, because again, it wasn't always readily available, or maybe it was, it's just whatever avenues that we had for it. For example, once again, YouTube and Facebook. I think for me, I used that more for entertainment purposes. So at the time, I believed the information had to be paid for to get, and I just didn't have the money for it. So
yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. Like the YouTube and the Facebook, all that's really good to get started, but it only gives you like part of the picture, because typically when people post on there, like they're trying to create content, trying to get as much people interested as possible, but they don't really give the full picture, because that's just not part of their model. Like typically they have like this YouTube video, and then you can join their course and all that's paid, but then they won't make money if they're selling you the entire thing, tell you how to do it exactly in that YouTube video. So they kind of give you crumbs, and you have to put together these crumbs to make a meal. So I totally get where you're coming from with regards to all that.
yeah, and I think just finding someone who's willing to take time out of their day and schedule to kind of help you was also difficult, you know, because everybody's doing their own thing, and a lot of people do not have time to slow down, hold your hand, try to sit you down and kind of teach you the stuff. So it was difficult to try and find someone who was willing to do that. So again, this COVID break, pandemic just actually allowed me to really dig in and really start doing my research. And again, that's how I managed to find you and everybody in the group, and that's been fantastic.
That's really good to hear. And you've been doing really well. And we can talk about a little bit more of your experience, like what you learned so far. Essentially, like you were going from like a beginner for real estate, and now you've made like 10 offers at least, from what I've counted, from what we discussed, like 10 different offers on separate properties, which is really good. And I mean, you're still working. You have a baby on the way. So, I mean, you've got a lot going on, and you still find time for real estate. So like, let's talk about some of those offers you made and some of the deals. You've even gotten close on a couple of these. Like, I think you were maybe like a day late on a couple of them, and like you could have had a deal here. But I'd love to dive deep, and like, what's been your experience talking to people, or what have you found actually getting into this stuff?
Well, for me personally, talking to people has not been too difficult for me, because I do also have a background in customer service. So if you've been in customer service before, or in some kind of way, you know that it's all about talking to customers all day. So I'm used to making or taking 100 calls a day and talking to people, giving them good and bad news. So the talking to customers or sellers for me was not the difficult part. It was just more or less finding a deal that you can negotiate on, because you see properties floating all over the place, people offering properties, saying that it's a good deal, and you got to run your numbers. And every time I run the numbers, it's like, no, this doesn't work, not for what I'm trying to do. So that's kind of been some of the difficulties, is actually finding what's a quality deal. But yeah, you know, just talking to people. I like to do that anyway. So, but again, you know, it's also about making an offer to where the numbers make sense. So it can come across as being offensive when you give a number that's completely off, but that's part of the game. You have to give an offer based on what your numbers are telling you. So if you find a motivated enough seller, and you try to look at it from a perspective of trying to help them out with their situation on a distressed property, you might find someone who's a little more willing. And you have to be quick, because like you said, I did find 1 or 2 properties I was close on, and they just got swallowed up within a day of being posted. So yeah.
So what happened on those? Like, it was, you just came to the party a little bit late, or you were running your numbers and somebody else jumped on it, or like, what do you think, what happened there?
Well, for the first one, it had been posted online literally 5 hours when I found it. And so I immediately called, tried to get information on the property. And even as I was talking to the agent, she was letting me know that, you know, hey, there's already an offer.
Whoa.
And I think that she's probably going to go with that offer. And the second property was pretty much the same thing. They had received multiple offers, including over asking.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So those
so
went really quick. Yeah.
yeah. I think in this specific market here in Atlanta, it's really hot. So you find something, you got to jump on it immediately. So I'm also kind of trying to set in place a system that allows me to submit something almost immediately without having to do too much of a waiting game, run the numbers and everything, at least get a contract or an offer over to the agent and at least put my name in the hat, making sure that, of course, there's like a due diligence contingency clause in there as well. So that's kind of what I'm working on doing now.
Okay. So that's really good. And then, like, how do you feel about getting close to a deal? Like, does that make you more motivated? Like, oh, wow, I got really close to a deal. If I would have been a little bit quicker, it would have been mine. I should continue. Or do you feel like demotivated? Like, oh no, I don't know if this fixing and flipping is for me. Like, how do you feel about that?
You get close. It's a little disappointing when you find out, oh man, I missed out. But that's the motivating thing. Like next time, I just have to be a little quicker and eventually you're going to get it, So for me to be that close and miss out, it does nothing but motivate me to want to keep doing this even more because I know I will find the deal.
That's good. Yeah. Well, I think the other heartening thing is like you've been at this maybe 2 months. So like you signed up with me maybe 2 months ago is just roughly what it is. And then you had a lot going on in the meantime, in the middle. So I think you took like a month off. So you've only been at it, maybe 4 weeks and you've gotten really close and gotten this far. So I think that's also heartening. So I don't know if you've realized that with regards to like making a ton of progress really soon, because you've had a lot going on in your life to say the least.
Yeah. Like you said, shortly after we signed up, my father passed away, so I kind of had to just put everything down for a few days and just kind of sort that out with family. And shortly after that, I got into a car accident. So, once again, I had to kind of put everything down, and I've been going to therapy for my back, and everything is better now. So you're right. I have kind of been held back by a few things, and when you look at it, that probably is about a month of the 2 months that we've been working together. So I guess 10 calls in the last month to start with is kind of where I am, but we're gonna scale it up. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, that sounds really good. Okay, so you're doing really good there. Any final thoughts, like with you getting started, like any other like things you've thought about or like recommendations you have for someone getting started?
The first thing I'm going to say is, there's going to be no perfect time to start. Everything's not just going to fall in place. You're not going to suddenly have the perfect lead, the down payment, the information. Now I've got everything. Now let me start. You just got to start from wherever you are, whatever you have, you just have to start. It could be finding a mentor. It could be starting to look around for a deal. It could be starting to talk to people, even just going to some of these real estate networking events. Just start somewhere. And you'll find that as you continue to move forward, you gain the momentum. So the biggest thing I think is to just start. Do not stand in the same place. Just start somewhere. Doesn't have to be a big stride, even a small step, but just start.
That's really good. So with you, like reflecting that onto you, like, do you feel like you have momentum going forward? Like you're picking up the pace, like you're doing better and better each day, each week?
I do.
Okay.
I think, and I give that advice based on my experience because I was thinking that everything needs to line up before I start. And so, our training has taught me to just kind of change my mindset, and just start from somewhere, even with whatever little you have. And, there are various programs, there are various ways around things. And if you just start, you just take your first step, everything else will fall in place. You do have to do your part, you do have to work, but just starting is the biggest thing. And, don't be afraid to start. Don't get nervous to talk to people. Don't be afraid to make an offer, even if it's a low offer. You know, those are some of the things that I think held me back a little bit, but now we have this momentum going. So yeah, that is a personal experience. Just get on that horse and just start.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really good advice too. For a lot of people, they just want to get it perfect, and that's pretty rare that it gets perfect or it lines up, and then you're ready to go. Which is, you know, just get started and you kind of figure it out as you go. Is probably the best advice there. Yeah,
absolutely. Find a mentor, talk to someone who does it, and just even tag along. Just watch and observe what they do, how they do certain things. Maybe go to a job site and see what's happening there. All of those are starting points, and they're all free. So just kind of get yourself involved in real estate in whichever way possible. Even if it's a small step, just start.
That's perfect. And on that note, would you recommend others work with me as well?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think that if I hadn't found you, I don't know that I would be as far as I am today. You know, the support has been phenomenal. The great thing about you is you're readily available to talk to on Skype, on the phone. We have a great support group on Facebook. Everybody's very interactive. We ask each other questions, we motivate each other. And I think as a new investor, you need that kind of support to get you moving forward. So I would highly recommend anybody trying to get into the business. You want to have a good mentor, a good coach such as yourself. You want to be part of a community of people just like you, and even those in various levels of experience, so that you can kind of have direction at each level, each step of your journey. So I would very highly recommend your services, your community, your group, your coaching. Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and it's also good to help. Good to hear. Excuse me. Like, it's not just me helping out. Like, it's the community too. So that's also good. So it's not just, oh wow, Victor is the one making this happen, but it's also like other people in the group. So that's good to hear as well. Well, I do appreciate you taking the time. This has been fantastic. I hope it's been insightful for everyone watching as well. Any like final thoughts or anything else to share as we wrap up here?
I'm grateful for the opportunity. I've met a lot of great people through our group. We talk amongst ourselves, even independent of you. And I think, again, it's just a great support system, and that's what's helping me move forward. So I'm looking forward to the next interview where I can tell you guys that I found a deal, or that, I cashed my first real estate check. So
that's what I'm hoping. I want to do another one with you, maybe like when you have it under contract or when it's closed. Then we can do another one, like you can hold up a check,
Absolutely.
And
very
like, well,
soon.
it's my first, I think you're going to be there sooner than you think. Like, especially because I always talk about numbers game. Everyone talks about that, especially like the volume you're doing and how close you've gotten already. Like, it's just a matter of time. So, and again, you've been at this basically 2 months, really 1 month. So, even if you give yourself a year, which is very conservative, like it's very possible, very doable.
Absolutely, Victor. Thank you so much. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing, everybody in the group, and very highly recommended.
Perfect. We'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time, and hope everyone watching has learned as well.
Thank you, Victor.
We'll see you.
Take care.